Welcome to the second part of the Barbieheimer movie event. And we're going to take a bite size out of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. The movie about Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. Or what I used to call him, the idiot who invented the atomic bomb. Well, with those words, you can tell that I was not exactly a fan of him because I did see, at least with my own eyes, the consequences of the atomic bomb. This T-shirt that I'm wearing, I bought it when I went to Japan to the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, which showcases material of the destruction that the atomic bomb left behind, and it's a really sad play, and it's really shocking to see with your own eyes the disaster that it brought. It is really something that you can't even imagine. So I kind of became the kind of guy who basically cursed anyone involved in the creation of this weapon of mass destruction, and anyone anyone affiliated with the practice of these kind of things. So I kind of excuse calling Robert Oppenheimer the kind of like the idiot that because he's the one involved into that thing. But other than that, I was actually very anticipating this movie. Even though it is directed by Christopher Nolan, in which I'm not exactly a big fan out of it. I always call that director smart but pretentious, and that's just me saying that I am one of the few people that actually hates Inception. I also hate Interstellar. There are smart movies, but sometimes too smart for their own good, to the point that they become boring. But on the other hand, I did like Dunkirk, and it's also Batman: The Dark Knight. So I always thought that Christopher Nolan will be a perfect pick to create biopics, which again is not exactly my favorite movie genre, because they usually tend to romanticize and exaggerate from the real events. But lo and behold, I was still very eager to watch that movie. Although I didn't make the double feature with Barbie like many people did, because I knew that for a 3-hour movie it was gonna be kind of exhausting. So I went there with a family member that I invited, and lo and behold, I came out really, really liking this movie. And it's a little bit more than what you think. Oppenheimer is, in short term, is basically the life of Robert Oppenheimer before, during, and after the Manhattan Project that he directed with other group of scientists, which the main goal is to create a bomb powerful enough to upstand the military forces of Russia and Germany, who since it was time for war, they were fearing that these people are creating a big threat, and that they were creating bigger bombs to annihilate the United States. So they say that, well, we're gonna build a bigger one, and you can't stop us. The more I think about it, it kind of reminds me of the Butter Battle book from Dr. Seuss. But either way, this is the basic synopsis of the movie, and in short terms, I'll tell you that one of the biggest sellouts of this movie is the acting. It's really good, and the man who plays the part of Oppenheimer, what was his name? Cillian Murphy. He does great. And I gotta commend also the makeup, because the character did really look like the Oppenheimer himself. there are some other actors that also make great jobs. There's Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr. also makes an appearance as what was Louis Strauss, in which, according to my brief research, it is a guy that technically hated Oppenheimer. And this leads me up to the cinematography, that the pacing of the movie is not exactly messy because it plays out on the timeline. Sometimes it plays out, it kind of in the future, then it jumps down to the past, the future, past, future, or so on, so on, and in order to help you understand what timeline they're playing at, it's either with the change of setting, as well as sometimes changing into a black and white color movie, that it kind of makes you differentiate in what time is taking place. But at the same time, it keeps you invested on the political ramifications that the movie tackles. Which also leads me to the point that this movie it doesn't feel like it was built as an anti-war movie, because that could have been very easy for Christopher Nolan to do. Making an anti-nuclear weapon movie involving Oppenheimer, that was not its goal, but it could almost easily go into that route because, well, no, I bet that at this point nobody wants a nuclear weapon showcase, and sometimes when you build kind of like a message surrounding it, it either comes off as, well, in the case of Christopher Nolan, pretentious, and at the same time overly preachy. And that wasn't the movie's goal. The movie's goal is basically the life of a man during the Manhattan Project. Although there are some moments in which I could have gone a little bit without, because it does showcase a little bit of the romantic part of Oppenheimer, in which he was romantically involved with another woman that is not his wife. At first, I thought that was invented for the sole purpose to give romance into the movie. But you know what? When I was reviewing, his history, I was surprised that this woman was real. Although that maybe a little, it leaves out a little bit of an over the top moment in which it does have some nudity, and I was like, okay, that was kind of like weird. Oh, that kind of reminds me that another part of the cinematography that really works is that there's some moments in which they wanted to build the pressure of our main character, and there are times that it showcased all this CGI atomic CGI representation, and it's also accompanied by the audio mixing, in which the audio mixing is really incredible. That so much that I even felt it on my on the edge of my seat, and it builds up kind of like in terms that it becomes it leaves you a little bit anxious, but luckily it doesn't leave out kind of like a jump scare, but you can feel it. Especially at the moment when they test out one of the bombs, which this one it kind of became my favorite part of the movie, when they test out the bomb, and everything becomes really artistically and visually stunning, as well as the audio mixing. I can see this movie being nominated for many awards during the Oscars. And I'm glad that this movie didn't come off, how can I say, as an Oscar bait. And honestly, the biggest appreciation that I have with this movie is that it kind of makes me feel that Oppenheimer was not exactly the idiot that I thought about it. Which is the biggest goal of this movie, that it humanizes the guy. It didn't paint him either as a hero or a villain. It's just a guy who who got kind of like uh, he just got the task and he decided to, let's do it. He reunites a group of scientists and work on a project for for the military of the United States. And well, the bomb happened, and he begins to feel a mixture of remorse and pride of what he was involved with. Not exactly pointing the guilt out of him, but you can tell that some of the ramifications that it happened because of his involvement with the bomb, uh, as well as some relationships that he had even before the bomb. So for me, Oppenheimer is a big thumbs up for me. So if you haven't seen it, I really encourage you to check it out. I even check it out even more than Barbie itself. So I think you can clearly tell which one for me is the biggest winner of the Barbieheimer double feature, which is none other than Oppenheimer. But hey, I just like an intelligent movie, even if it is about the guy who was responsible of changing the world for the better or for the worse. Sometimes the world can be really scary, and it takes one intelligent guy or a group of intelligent guys to do that.